Hey guys, how you doing? A couple days ago, someone wrote in with a paid help request for an n8n build. So Tyler wrote in and says, hey, I came across your YouTube channel and I'm impressed with your knowledge of automation and n8n. I've dabbled with it and sure I could figure it out while watching your videos, but are you able to help with an agent based on my needs? Also, how much would you charge? Well, Tyler, I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm going to build this live so that everyone could follow along step by step, but also I'll share the free template with you and everyone else so that you guys can download it and basically just kick it to life, right? So let's take a look at the request, right? So essentially, I would like the agent to be able to reference a Google Drive or Dropbox folder. Okay. Choose a random file, whether it's a photo or video, all right? Reference the title of the file, send a prompt to ChatGPT to generate a caption, I suppose based on the title of the file, right? So it's going to be a descriptive title. Send me an email with the photo or video along with the caption. If I reply yes, then auto-post it. If no, then resend through the note again until I approve it. Okay, so it's going to reference the title of the file and it's going to send you for approval. So it's a human in the loop system. And cool. All right. That seems like a pretty straightforward build. So we're going to go ahead and try to put this together and see how it turns out. So jumping straight into my n8n instance here, I've created a blank workflow sheet right here. And if any of you are new to n8n, please check out my previous video, which covers the foundational knowledge of n8n, just the stuff that you need to know to get going. But this tutorial should be easy to follow, even if you're a complete beginner, right? So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty intuitive. There's just a couple of nuances, and I'll try to explain every single step of the way as much as possible so that it's easy to follow along. Obviously, the workflow needs an event trigger. So in this case, the event trigger that we're going to choose is the on schedule trigger. So you're going to hit the plus button over there and just click on schedule trigger. And now what's on schedule trigger means it's going to trigger on a specific schedule. So in this case, I'm assuming that Tyler wants the workflow to be activated based on a certain periodic time. So this is going to be every day, for example. You can set it to every week or whatever interval that you're looking at, but I'm going to set it for every day. And then I'm going to choose 10 a.m. as the trigger hour. And I'm going to hit execute step here, right? So now I've generated, or rather the node have generated a couple of outputs here. So with n8n, every single node is going to generate an output with certain information. So because this is a scheduled trigger, there is no input into the node, there's only an output. So it's saying the time, the day, and all the associated time information that you might need. Okay, so once you have the schedule trigger, the second node that I want to hit here is either the Drive node or the Dropbox node, because Tyler specified that he wants the workflow to extract random files from a Google Drive folder or Dropbox. So in this case, I'm going to do the Drive, and it's the Google Drive node. And in terms of action, what I want to choose is really the search file or folder action, right? Because we're trying to search for a particular folder within the drive. So I'm going to leave everything as is, first of all, right? Because this is basically configured the right way already. So I'm going to toggle on the return all because I want the entire list of the file. But under filter, I want to make sure that I am searching for a folder. So the folder name here, I'm going to choose a specific folder that I've created, which is called n8n folder 2 with these number of images. I'm only uploading 4, but it's going to be enough for you to understand how the randomization works and stuff, right? So going back here, I'm just going to choose from list the n8n folder 2, and what I'll do is execute step, right? So this is a sort of a trial run of the node, and it will return here, if you toggle on to table, the 4 items that are in my Google Drive. So all the photos with the name, which is the title of the file. So I'm assuming that the title of the files within the folder would be very much descriptive, right? Because that is critical in this workflow because the AI is going to reference the title and coming up with a caption to be posted to social media. All right, so we're good here. And the next node that we want to hit is the code node, because this is where we want to randomize the file. So we're going to just choose code in JavaScript. And here, even though n8n is mostly a no-code tool, there are instances where you're going to need to put in a little code just to achieve some form of functionality. In this case, trying to randomize it because there is no pre-configured node just to do that particular operation, right? But don't let it deter you because there's an Ask AI functionality here. Even if you don't know how to code, you can tell the AI in natural language what you want the code to do. So in this case, I've actually used other forms of LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude Code to generate a chunk of the code to randomize the file names so that you can pick the photos at random. So I didn't code any of these. This is just essentially the LLM outputting this. And if you want this specific code, it's all in the template as well. So once you download it, you'll be able to access it also. So I'm going to hit execute step here. And as you can see, it's returning or outputting just one of the photos or files at random. So how do we know it's at random? Well, let's hit execute step again and see if it's giving us a different output. So there we go. I've hit it the third time, it's coming up with a different one. And the fourth time, it's coming up with a different one as well. So we know that it's kind of random, right? So you might notice that the titles that I have put onto the files here is kind of describing the image. So this one with a croissant, for example, it says caramel glazed croissant to go with your coffee, and a Christmas spice hot chocolate to warm up a cold winter day, and a flat white coffee to wake your morning up, stuff like that. So this is assuming that maybe Tyler is running a cafe where you might want to promote some coffee. I picture myself with coffee and, it says start a day with your cup of a strong coffee. All right, going back to the workflow now that the randomized node is in place, we're going to introduce the next node, which is the OpenAI, in this case, a model node, right? So I already have my account connected, but if you don't have your account connected with your n8n instance, I'll take a video of how to do that easily up here and down below as well. So it's a pretty easy setup. Just go to platform.openai.com and you get an API key and connect that API key, right? So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the model, and because it's just coming up with a caption, I'm going to just choose a GPT 4.1 mini because we don't need it to be super powerful given that it's just coming out with a caption based on the title, right? So here with the user input is basically the message that you're giving ChatGPT the same way you would in a ChatGPT interface where you're telling it to do stuff. And then there's another type of prompt, which is the system prompt. So what you want to do is, so I'm going to run that again, add message, and here you can choose a system prompt. So the system prompt is important to tell it what it's supposed to do. So in this case, we want to tell it that it's a caption copywriter, right? So I'm just going to write a simple prompt. So I'm going to toggle this to expression, blow it up so you can see it. So it says you are a social media Instagram caption specialist. I'm not sure if Tyler meant Instagram when it comes to social media. I'm not sure which one. It doesn't matter because later on you'll see that it can be posted on multiple channels, right? Your job is to come up with an effective caption based on title, file name, which will be descriptive of the photo. All right, so that is a simple system prompt. Again, if you're using this in production or live mode, you probably want it to be a bit more sophisticated. As for the user prompt, I'm literally going to write a file name, which is the name of the file, and ask it to create an effective caption, blow this up, create an effective caption for a social media post, bracket Instagram, that goes along with the post. All right, so why do I want to have a file name section here? Is because I'm going to, after toggling this to expression, I'm going to drag the file name, which is the one over here, flat white coffee to wake up in the morning JPEG. And I'm just going to put it over here. So the input will then be file name, flat white coffee to wake up your morning. So I'm dragging this variable, and this is going to dynamically change depending on the input. So every run of the workflow, this is going to be different. If you're inputting the name right over here, it's going to be permanent, it's going to be hard-coded. So it won't change dynamically with different runs of the workflow. Okay, so now I'm going to execute step to see what kind of output ChatGPT gives me. So there we go. So it's giving me the text, the output here. Maybe I'll toggle this to schema, it's easier to see. So morning mood, perfected, coffee emoji, nothing kickstarts today, like smooth, creamy, flat white, morning brew, flat white coffee, coffee fizz. Cool, all right. So that's the message model node. And the next node that we want to hit here is the Gmail node. So we want to send both the caption and the photo. If we're going back to the specification from Tyler. So Tyler says, send a prompt to GPT to generate a caption, send me an email with a photo or video along with the caption, okay? So here you want to do a send message and wait for response operation. So this is a Gmail node, and I already have my Gmail account connected, but if you haven't, you can easily connect that by signing in with Google as long as you are opening your n8n cloud instance in the same browser, right? So just keep in mind with that. So the operation is send and wait for response, and this is going to be sent to, I'm just going to put my email right here, automate.with.mark@gmail.com. But of course, because this is just sending to, well, the user or Tyler in this case on a daily basis for his approval, this is going to be hard-coded in because there's only one email that he's using, right? So this is the same email that's going to keep sending to for approval. Subject, I'm just going to put, social media posts for approval, okay? And then under message, we are going to say content file with this particular URL, and let me just blow that up so you can see it. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to include two things in the email, which is one is the content file link which is the Google Drive link, so that the user could actually click into the file link and be able to see the picture or the photo or the video. And then I also want to provide the caption that came from ChatGPT, right? So in providing the URL link, this is the standard link for a Google Drive file. So how does Google know which file you're referring to? It is by ID. So the 2 forward slashes here in between is where the ID number should go. And here, what you want to do is you just want to drag this ID and just put it right in between the 2 forward slashes here. And you can see that the output result is going to say something like this, right? drive.google.com/file/d/ the whole string of ID number here and /view. So that is going to give you the view URL link of that particular photo, right? And again, the ID is going to change dynamically because we're dragging this key value pairs in, and it will change with each separate run of the workflows depending on what's the input and what's the selected randomized file. All right, under caption, we are going to just drag the text over here and drop it over here. So as you can see, it's morning mood perfected. So the correct file or the correct photo with the correct caption, sending it through email is what we're doing here. Okay, so now that message is done, the last thing we want to do, we want to select response type. So here we want to select approval, but under options, I want to choose approve and disapprove, right? Because it's not just approve only. I want to make sure that the user can disapprove if he or she doesn't like the caption or the image that's been selected. So approve button labels, approve, decline. You can kind of do some configuration here on how you want it to look, but it doesn't really matter right now. So because this is just going to be internal use for approval, right? So I'm going to hit execute step. Okay. The moment I do that, it's already sending an email to automatewithmark@gmail.com. So let's go over to my inbox and see what I've received. So this is what I've received in my inbox. So as you can see, it says social media post for approval, and then there's a content file here, the link, and actually you can see that this is the photo that is selected at random, and then this is basically the caption that's going to go with it. So I'm going to hit approve because we need basically the output from the data to get moving to the next node. So okay, it says got it, thanks. So back at the workflow, you'll see that it says approve true, and here we want to introduce an if node. All right, so under if node, we want to drag this value, or rather this variable here, the approved variable is equals to true, okay? So when it's true, it's gonna go to one branch, and if it's false, meaning it's been disapproved, we're gonna loop it back. Let me just zoom out of that. So we're gonna loop it back to the search file and folder. So that's what the user has specified, which is when the email is rejected, it goes back to the file, searches the file, and comes up with a different photos at random, and then generate another caption and sending back to the email, right? So, okay, and we'll check out that loop later on. But now for this instance, this is true. So the next node that is true means it's been approved, right? So the photo has been approved, the caption's been approved. Now the next step is really just to post it to social media. And in order to push it to social media, first what we want to do is we want to download the file of the photos or the video. And here we're going to hit download file. And here we want to choose by ID. And where do we get the ID? Of course, from the randomizer code node over here. And we're just going to drag that ID and drop it in this field. And then we're going to hit execute step to see if it's actually picking the right data. Whoops, sorry, it's actually running the whole workflow again. So now it's actually picked another different file and it's generating a different caption and sending it to my email. So I got to approve it again. And this often happens when we start looping in things like this. So just going back into my email, this is a photo that is chosen on the second try, which is start your day with a cup of strong coffee. Okay, I'm going to approve this so that we can proceed with the workflow. And here, as you can see, it's proceeding and it's going into the true branch because I've just approved it, and then it goes into the download file. And let's view the data here. As you can see, for the right photo has been downloaded. So now we have the file and the caption, and what we want to do is push it into social media. So how do we push it to social media? Well, there are a couple of tools available out there, but my favorite tools to use, which I find the most convenient and easiest to use, is Blotato. And I'll link in my description and maybe somewhere on the screen for you guys to check out. So Blotato has a native node, which you can type into the box here. So if you don't see this in your n8n cloud, this is because you need to enable the community nodes for you to actually access this. And also the versioning is important to make sure that you are on the updated version to be able to use the community nodes. So this is the Blotato node. And what we want to do here is we want to choose the upload media node. This is not really uploading straight to social media. This is uploading to a server that Blotato has, because when you push your content into social media like Instagram, TikTok, they are usually very strict as to the source of the content. So if you're just randomly pushing Google Drive a URL, for example, that sometimes will be blocked because they're just very strict with the content they're pushing into them. And what we're doing here is uploading it to a Blotato server, which has already been whitelisted by all these social media platforms, so that there's no problem uploading it straight. So operations upload, and here I want to toggle that into the binary data because this is basically in binary. In fact, if you don't want to use binary data, what you can do is actually you can provide the media URL as well, right? So there are a couple of ways to approach this. But here, because this is already downloaded, what I want to do is I'm going to push it to binary data. In fact, when I think about it, maybe you can skip the download file step here to make it simpler. But okay, we're here. So we're going to hit execute step. Yeah, one last thing to note, the name of the file here has to match the name over here. So it's going to fetch that. So as you can see, now we have a URL, which is a database within Blotato that's now hosting that particular image that I've just uploaded, right? So it's successfully uploaded to the Blotato server. What I want to do next is, now that it's uploaded to Blotato server, is I want then for it to actually create a post. And also, I forgot to mention, just going back to the note here, because if this is your first time and you haven't used Blotato before, what you want to do is you want to create a new credential connected with Blotato, right? So when you create a Blotato account or Blotato credential, it's going to ask for an API key. So it's as simple as that. Once you have an API key, you can actually connect it. So what you do is just go to blotato.com, and essentially once you sign up or log in or try for free, you'll be led to this page. And when you're inside Blotato, what you do is go over to the settings, and this is where you can connect all your socials, right? So there's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. So all the major socials are all here. I've got my Instagram connected. Haven't really got the rest connected just yet. But what you want to do is toggle over to the API settings here. And as you can see, you can actually generate the API key over here. But fair warning, this is a paid feature. The moment you hit generate, it's gonna start the billing. But I do think for the cost of the subscription is really convenient, helps you automate all your posting. So if you're interested in subscribing to Blotato, check out the link below, and you can use also my coupon code MARK20 for 20% off for 3 months if you're interested in exploring it. Okay, so once you get the API key, you can go back and just paste the API key, and essentially you're good to go, you're connected. Here with the create post, it's connected to the same account, and the resources post and the operations create platforms Instagram. So again, you can choose different types of platforms once they are connected. So from this, if you have more than one account that is connected, this would have a few accounts, but here I already have my automate with Mark set up, so I'm gonna just choose that. So text is basically the caption that's gonna come with the post. So where am I gonna get the caption? Well, I'm gonna get it from the message and model node. So here's the text. I'm just gonna drag that in and drop it down here. And as you can see, it says kickstart your morning with a bold brew. So this is the media URL that indicates which file that we're uploading. And that is the URL from the upload media, which is already now the Blotato server. And we're just gonna drag that and drop it in here, which I did. And we're gonna hit execute step. And there we go. There's a post submission ID, which means it's successfully posted. All right, so let's see on my Instagram page what that looks like. So here in my grids, you can see the photo has already been uploaded, right? So it just has been uploaded. So it says, kickstart your morning with a bold brew, hashtag strong coffee, hashtag morning fuel, rise and grind. So that was 34 seconds ago. Okay, cool. So it's working as expected. So what happens if it's disapproved and it goes into the rejection loop? Let's go back to our workflow. And we know that now if it's approved, it all works perfectly. But what we want to do here is to rerun this again. Okay, and this time we're going to intentionally reject it and see what happens in our email, right? So now it's randomly selecting a different photo and then generating the caption, and now sending a message to my email for my approval. So now this is what I've received in my email, and it's picking a different photo. So in this case, it's this photo right here, and it says morning vibes in a cup, start your day right with creamy, velvety, flat white, all right? Okay, so I don't like this. I'm going to decline it, and let's see what happens in the workflow. So cool, it's going now into the false loop, and it's going back, right? And if we open this, you see that it has now multiple runs, right? 1 out of 2 and 2 out of 2. So it's searching for a different file, different photo, and it's generating a different caption and then sending it back to my email for my approval again. So going back into my email inbox, again, it is because there are only 4 files, right? So the chances of it selecting the same photo is pretty high. So it's now selecting this photo. But as you can see, the caption is slightly different now. It's fuel your morning with a bulk cup of strong coffee, and as you can see, it was sent 0 minutes ago, so you know that it is another run. So that's it. That's how you could put together a simple social media automation agent that picks a random photo or file or a video from a specific drive and generate a caption for you and push that to your email or any other approval platform that you like. You can actually send it for approval on Telegram, Slack, any platform that you're more active in. So it doesn't always need to be emails, but it is what the specification from the user requires. So that's what I built, but you can easily replace that. And of course, if you're interested in exploring the auto social media posting tool with Blotato, do check out the link below. Let me know if you face any difficulties in any part of the build, and also feel free to comment any other requests for interesting n8n build. I'll try to give it a shot, and as always, I'll try to build it live and record it so that guys can follow it step by step and also share the template for free. If you find the content useful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.